and you're listening to Dr. Chris's Radio Horror Show on 91.3 FM, and as well as on Radio Horror's YouTube page and Radio Horror's VidMe. And tonight on the show, we have actress, model Tatiana DeKhtyar on the show with us. Thank you for coming on the show with us, Tatiana.
Thank you for having me. That's a really good job you did there pronouncing my name.
It wasn't as good as my attempt at a Russian accent, which I was doing off the air, and then it sounded more German, and then I brought up moose and squirrels.
When I just came to United States, people always ask me to say, can you say must kill a squirrel? And I'm like, why is everybody asking me to say that? Because even though I've seen Boris and Natasha, but I've seen it back in Russia, like it was dubbed in Russian, so it really didn't register with me. And I would say it out loud, and people found it like super entertaining. They would start laughing out loud, and I was like, well, I'm glad I could assist you in feeling better. And then it occurred to me that okay, it's from Rocky and Bullwinkle. I got it. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So when did they allow Rocky and Bullwinkle to be shown in Russia? Because I can't imagine that was being shown during the time of the Soviet Union.
Oh, no, probably not. I don't know. I mean, I don't know when it first aired, but I watched it as a kid, so it wasn't my childhood.
So your childhood occurred after the Soviet Union fell?
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty popular show all over the world, I think, right?
Yeah, but I don't think anyone today, like any millennial, knows who Rocky and Bullwinkle are. You know what I mean? I think Rocky and Bullwinkle is so outdated that I just don't...
We should be careful, though, because they're listening.
Okay, I'll be honest with you. They haven't had like a cartoon in a number of years, and they're not on Netflix right now. They're not on Hulu, as far as I'm aware. So I think, well, maybe they're on Hulu. I don't know, but I remember that movie came out in 2000. It was just kind of terrible.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, Jason Alexander played Boris, and Natasha was played by Rene Russo, and the Fearless Leader was played by Robert De Niro.
Oh, how bad can it be? I mean, come on. Rene Russo, Robert De Niro, I'm sold.
Oh my God, that made me laugh so much I was choking to death. A bunch of great actors does not always make a great movie. Sometimes you need a lot of no-name actors to make a great movie, like Guardians of the Galaxy or something.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you said that. I think it's because sometimes there is a big budget and an idea to make something out of it, and sometimes there's an idea and whatever the budget they can come up with to support it. And it's not about how much money you have. It's about what do you do with it. Is there a soul in there? Is the movie alive? Does it have a personality? You know what I mean? Like, does it have a life?
Or is it just there to make money?
Yeah, or is it just a formula? Because a formula will always miss something. The only thing that is solid, the only thing that keeps flowing is something that has a soul, has a heart. If it makes sense.
Have you experienced a lot of projects like that?
Yeah. I've seen both. I've seen projects that were purely commercial, and I've seen projects that were purely like just coming from the heart, and where the director, producer, and the writer was so passionate, so in love with it, like they literally like treat it as their child, as their baby, and like from that point on, it's what my baby wants, my baby gets. Like they do whatever it takes to take it to the next level. And I've seen talented people make that dollar go really far. When you have a beautiful idea, an amazing idea, a lot of people are willing to join that idea, working for just friction of a price just to see it happen. I've seen that happen as well.
Did you have a great experience working on Heroes with Issues and Superpower Beatdown, which seem to be your two cosplay web series?
Yes, absolutely. They're quite different because, superpower beatdown is very intense. It's an intense schedule that it's a project that demands a lot of work before we even ever start shooting. There's a lot that goes into pre-production, like a lot of training, a lot of training went into preparing for the beatdowns, and hours and hours of work and researching the characters. And Heroes with Issues is very dear to my heart because it was actually my idea originally that I was looking to. I pitched it to a couple of different studios, and then finally, truly indie studios, picked it up, and from that point on, I was a co-creator along with Sean Piccinino and Brian Susskind. It's our project, our baby, and we actually have another episode coming out soon. That's full of magic,
Huh?
literally. And yeah, so like this one is a lot more focused, a lot more around sense of humor, and it's a lot more chill. Kind of like easygoing, but very fun, super fun. So yeah, those two are like they hold a special place in my heart. And the Beatdown, of course, is super exciting. It's one of the most exciting projects that I think I've ever worked on because I love action so much. I just love, like film fighting. I just love doing that. And this is something that I've always wanted to do. And it brings me an enormous amount of joy to dress up as a superhero and just like doing several days of fighting, sweating, and getting injured. That's awesome.
Now, when you talk about projects that you love, there are also, and we just mentioned projects that don't have a lot of heart and soul into them and just there to make money. Like, you were on an episode of Rush Hour that,
Well, that one was actually super, super fun.
despite the fact
You
that
would
it's just a TV series remake of a movie that got canned after what, just a few episodes?
you would think so, right? But the interesting part about it is everybody that worked on the project was a huge, huge fan of Rush Hour. Like everybody from the director to the last background extra, like every single person on set was super excited to be there and put their heart into the project. And to be honest with you, I think that the project was actually very good considering the fact that it's a spin-off, and I just honestly think that it wasn't treated fairly because people kept comparing it to the original. You can't do that. It's a new day. It's a new take on the idea, and yeah, it's different actors, but they did such an amazing job. John Fu did all of his almost all of his own stunts. Like pretty much, which he didn't have to. He did have an amazing stunt double. I know the guy. I trained with him. Matt Barberry. He is really, really good. But John Fu is very old school. Like in his approach to action. He loves doing stuff himself, and he's so skilled and absolutely fearless. I've seen him do some pretty amazing stuff, and you might think that it was a stunt double that did it, but I mean, I saw the guy do that stuff like right in front of me on his own, and I have to say, respect. That's what basically Jackie Chan does in his movies. He does pretty much almost all of his own stunts. So there's that, and then we have Justin Hires, who is easily one of the funniest people that I've ever seen. And a lot of the stuff that he said didn't make the final cut, but he is so much fun. Oh my God. Like we didn't have a dull moment on set. Not for a second. It was amazing. I have to say those people are super, super talented and passionate about what they do. So I would maybe give this project another shot. The only problem that I see there is people kept comparing it to the original. They're like, well, it's similar, but it's not the same. I'm like, of course it's not the same. It's different, but it's close enough to continue the legacy. But at the same time, like it gives you something a little extra, something new.
You talked about pitching the series that you created to different places,
Mm-hmm.
gives the people who are trying to do that a little idea about how to get that done, with some advice on how to pitch a project to not big studios, but maybe some independent studios like Machinima or other places that would pick up maybe their web series to help them finance it so they can get it going.
Absolutely. Well, where you want to start is you want to define the idea that you have. You need to understand what is it that you want to create, and it has to be matching what the studio is already kind of in a business for. If you're pitching something to Machinima, you better know what Machinima is putting out there, and see if your project falls within the same lines. If it doesn't, make adjustments. And I would say define it as good as you can. Create like a really good concept, something that you can present. Create a presentation that you can come to Machinima with, or like another company, and tell them like, this is what I have, and this is what I'm planning to make it into. This is the budget. Here's the breakdown. Here is the storyline. This is what I think we can get out of it, and make it as clear as possible. You have to have like a kind of like a sort of a business plan for it, because in the end of the day, they need to see if it's feasible to pick up the project and if it has a future. I had a bunch of different ideas, and I having access to different studios, I always kind of mention those to the directors that I know, and sometimes they say, "Oh, this is a great idea, but unfortunately, we're so busy right now, we just can't do anything else." Actually, I'm working on something new right now, as we speak, that hopefully will have a future, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. It's going to be, if it's going to happen the way I envision it, it's going to be amazing.
One of the movies that we were talking about off the air earlier today was your film Dances with the Werewolves, which
Yeah.
the title alone makes it sound very unusual. We have Dances with Wolves. We have Avatar, which is kind of like Dances with Wolves with blue people. Is Dances with Werewolves the same type of thing? A white man joins up with a rather non-Caucasian group of people and becomes one of them?
Not necessarily. It's about a white man being eaten by a pack of female werewolves.
There's nothing wrong with that. Did you ever see Trick or Treat?
I'm sorry, did you ever see what?
Did you ever see Trick or Treat?
No, I haven't.
Oh my god! What the hell, woman? You have to go see this movie. It's so goddamn good. There is an amazing, and I mean fucking amazing, werewolf scene in that movie that blows away any werewolf movie made in the last 20 years.
I seriously wish we had our conversation before I started doing research for my werewolf movie, because everything that you said so far came in really handy, but just a little bit, just a tad late.
Well, if you would like to hire me as a horror consultant on one of your next movies, I am available to be flown out to LA.
Absolutely. You will hear from me next time I play a werewolf.
Any werewolf, any creature, you need a horror consultant for one of your projects, be like, hey, I gotta fly this guy from Massachusetts out, and he's gonna be our research guide on all this super duper stuff. On top of the fact, I have a extensive comic book collection. I have like 25 long boxes of comic books.
What is your favorite?
My favorite, before we get back to werewolves, my favorite superhero is Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Okay, that makes sense. Who doesn't love Spidey?
I actually, this part will be edited out just because we're kind of going off into a tangent. So I'll get back to werewolves in like 2 seconds. I actually have an idea for a Spider-Man short web series film. Did you ever see Max Landis's The Death and Return of Superman?
No, I haven't.
You need to go watch this short film. It's 18 minutes long. It is one of the funniest goddamn things I've ever seen made. It's made by the director-writer Max Landis, who wrote Chronicle. His father is John Landis, the director of American Werewolf in London. And he went and because of this short film, which also stars like Elijah Wood in a cameo appearance as Jimmy Olsen, it's basically making fun of the death and return of Superman, the stupid, ridiculous storyline from the 90s. Then DC Comics came to him to ask him to write a Superman story. And it was called Superman American Son. And it's one of the best goddamn Superman stories in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Then afterwards, he was supposed to make a sequel updating the death of Superman. And he wasn't able to do it, so he was only able to write American Son. But during the filming of one of his movies, he did a 50-minute sit-down in front of the camera. You can watch it on YouTube, where he goes into the entire story of what he was going to pitch to DC for the death and return of Superman, updated to today. Because the last time that happened was in 1992. So this is 2016. And this was going to be a weekly series, by the way. This was going to be 52 issues long, one issue coming out a week, talking about how Doomsday comes down and he is just an absolute monster and he kills a bunch of the DC heroes and he freaking beats Superman almost to death, and Superman finally defeats Doomsday, but he's so broken and bloody and Metropolis is just, destroyed that he can't do it anymore. So he gives up being Superman. So in essence, he kills Superman himself and flies away to Kansas, leaving the city in the hands of Lex Luthor and a couple other characters. Batman is the only one who knows that Clark is still alive. He goes to the farm and tells Clark, the reason why you lost fighting Doomsday is because you suck as a fighter, and we're going to spend the next few months and I'm going to train you in everything I know about fighting. So Batman trains Superman on how to fight. All the while, over in Metropolis, Lex Luthor's using technology that he doesn't understand to rebuild the city, to only find out that it's actually Brainiac's technology. And the new superhero, Mon-El, who's like a Daxamite, who's like a cousin of Kryptonians, is actually General Zod in disguise, and he's planning on taking over the world.
Well, there you have it.
Yes. And this was going to be his pitch to DC for a brand new weekly series. That sounds fucking amazing. And that
sounds really good.
This gave me the inspiration to make my own satire parody video of one of the worst Spider-Man stories of all time, The Clone Saga and One More Day. The Clone Saga speaks for itself in the title, but One More Day is the story where Spider-Man and Mary Jane make the deal with Mephisto, the devil, to take away their marriage in order to save Aunt May's life and to restore Peter Parker's secret identity.
Wait a minute, I heard about that story.
Yeah, it fucking sucks.
I heard about that story. Yeah, she basically sacrificed herself, in their love and their marriage and everything.
Yep. To the fucking guy who gave Ghost Rider his goddamn demon and motorcycle. Those things should never be in a fucking Spider-Man comic book. Spider-Man is a street-level superhero like Daredevil and the Punisher and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, okay? That's who Spider-Man is. He doesn't fight demons and gods like Thanos and Galactus. None of that shit.
But he did fight Darth Maul in episode 17 of Superpower Beatdown.
My God. So, Dances with Werewolves, as I was explaining to Tatiana off the air, there's a movie called The Howling 2 and Howling. Now, The Howling stars Dee Wallace Stone. She was Elliot's mother in E.T. She was in The Hills Have Eyes. She was in Cujo. Are you familiar with who I'm talking about?
Not entirely, no.
Did you ever see E.T.?
E.T., yes.
Okay, she's the mom in E.T.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she plays this reporter in the original Howling, who is trying to track down a serial killer named Eddie, played by Robert Picardo, who you might know as the holographic doctor on Star Trek Voyager. And then the experience unravels her. So her and her husband go away to this retreat on this tropical island, only to find, well, it's not tropical, it's like in the woods, only to find out the freaking retreat and everyone in the town is a goddamn werewolf. So
sounds like my kind of town.
Her husband has sex with like the lead werewolf, and he becomes a werewolf. And then she comes back to show. She goes on camera at her news station and transforms into a werewolf to show everyone in the world that werewolves actually exist. She ends up having to get killed, and then her brother finds out about it in Howling 2 and teams up with the priest, played by Christopher Lee, the guy who played Dracula and Sauron from Lord of the Rings, and they have to take down the Queen of the Werewolves, played by Sybil Shepherd, in one of the most titillating performances of her career, as she constantly thrusts her breast out to the camera, and she's actually Christopher Lee's character's sister.
Well, I mean, being a werewolf, I guess, is all about liberating yourself from the burden of,
Clothes.
human disguise.
Liberating yourself from clothes.
Yeah, it's all about the freedom.
That's why werewolves have it so much better. Is that why not Edward, who was the vampire in Twilight, constantly kept taking his shirt off?
Vampire was Edward, and wait a minute, the werewolf was
Jacob.
Jacob, that's
yes,
right.
The Native American.
Yeah, well, I mean, those moments were cherished and appreciated.
Yeah, right.
That was like the highlight.
Every
of the
5
movie.
minutes, he was taking his shirt off, and Bella gets injured. He's like, "Hold on a second, let me take my shirt off before I help you." And then why are Native Americans werewolves? I mean, it becomes kind of insulting after a while.
I don't see it as insulting because, if anything, it might be a compliment because think about it. Werewolves are basically deriving from the idea of wolves. Like Native Americans are close to nature. Like they're famous for, talking to the spirit world and being connected to magic and for being like really, really close to Mother Nature, right? And there you have the idea of what is a wolf. A wolf is very independent, very honorable creature. Wolves are magnificent creatures, in my opinion. And I think that if you will choose who's going to be a wolf, why not choose somebody who, is also all about nature and honor?
Okay.
So I see a connection there.
It seems like all of a suddenly they started every 5 minutes writing Native American characters in horror movies as nothing but werewolves.
Well, if it works, I guess, how it is, like with Hollywood ideas, sometimes, they stumble upon a formula that works for them, like that's something that people love and find exciting. And then they start using it over and over again until nobody is excited about it anymore because they've seen it so many times.
Gotcha. How was working on Dances with Werewolves?
It was one of the most fun, most amazing experiences ever. The team was absolutely awesome. I got to work with Donald Glutt and Dan Golden. They directed the movie. Don is actually someone that you might know about. Like Don Glutt wrote for all kinds of comics that you may have actually read. He wrote for Spider-Man, Superman comics. He's a very well-known screenwriter, and he wrote the Star Wars novelization, The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's the real deal, and he basically co-wrote the script for Dances with Werewolves. Him and Dan Golden, they made an amazing team on this film, and the entire cast and crew, like the whole production, was like super awesome. And not to mention that I had so much fun dressing up as a werewolf. It was such a long process, but I had all the fun. I really milked it for fun. Whatever the fun was in there, I squeezed it out.
Who did the makeup?
The makeup was done by an award-winning makeup artist, Glenn Griffith, and it was very elaborate. It took an entire team to work on us. We had several werewolves, and most of the time all had to be done up on the same day. And I honestly have no idea how these people pulled it off, but they worked their magic, and somehow, boom, we have monsters.
One of the cosplays that you dress up as a lot has another connection to werewolves. Celine from the Underworld series.
Oh my God, you just hit the sweet spot for me. She's one of my all-time favorite
I gotta admit, I
character.
like the way you said that, but go on.
Absolutely love this character. Probably
It's
because I fell in love with Blade a long time ago.
uh
Like
huh.
this character is another one that I hold dearly to my heart just because I feel like it shows very well like exaggerated duality of the human nature
Hmm.
because that's kind of like the struggle that humans go through in life because they are very powerful and dangerous creatures if you think about it. Humans are at the top of the food chain in the world due to their like skills and intelligence and the system that they managed to build the society. And at the same time they constantly strive to find ways to be kind, to be good, like so this is essentially what those characters are all about, like Blade and Celine are very similar in a sense, like Celine is to me almost like a female version of Blade, like they were like, okay ladies, you love Blade, you admire this character, let us give you something, like so, like a little girl power in the mix.
The sad
So one of your own to root for, and there she was, all beautiful and magnificent, and rebelling against like all of the nasty creatures of her universe.
the sad thing is that as much as I like the character Celine, the movies that kind of surround the character are not that fantastic.
I don't necessarily have a problem with that. The very first movie is my favorite. I remember how uplifted I felt in the end of the film when like when she kills Victor and like saves the man and saves the day, and like the revolution starts all of a sudden, and I felt so inspired. I was like, that a girl, you go get them all. you know um but yeah, I guess there's always room for improvement. it's not easy to it's not easy to make a movie.
The next
You
movie
would
comes out in January, Blood Wars.
absolutely, you would be blown away how many movies never see the light of day,
Oh no, I completely understand. I mean, there's that Chris Pratt science fiction movie coming out this month that was one of the most famous blacklist scripts in Hollywood.
Hmm, never heard of that one. Why did it get blacklisted?
It just nobody wanted to make it.
Oh, there you go. See, and this is Chris Pratt we're talking about.
Well, that's only
So,
because Chris Pratt has been a rising star since his time on Parks and Recreation. But all of a suddenly, he's in like one movie after the other. He's got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 coming out next year, and he's doing the following year Jurassic World 2. But this movie, and this script in particular, about two people aboard a Noah's Ark kind of life raft, is on its way through space, and Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence's character wake up too early, and they're unfortunately trapped. They are the only people aboard the ship awake. Everyone else is in hibernation. And again, the movie, apparently the script was written over 16 years ago, I think I read somewhere, and it's just one of those scripts that execs loved, but nobody wanted to make, and they just kept putting it on top of another pile, and then it would come back up again and then get pushed off until like a couple of years ago they finally made it.
there you go. Sort of like Avatar had to wait
Ugh.
years on the shelf.
Yeah, but and now we got
Yeah,
what, three more Avatar movies coming out? I mean,
thank God
unnecessary.
for that.
Um,
It's one of my all-time favorite movies. I'm super excited about that
I
one.
don't know. It's just like it was beautiful when it came out, but I cannot rewatch that movie today.
I believe in the genius of the director that stands behind it.
Uh,
I really do. I really do. I think he can totally pull off another another story. As long as he doesn't drop the project, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, like, the last Avatar movie came out in 2009, and we still haven't seen anything about when the next one's coming out. A long time to wait between sequels, especially for a science fiction franchise, which is what it's
Yeah,
trying to become.
yeah. I mean, it's a very, very complex project. Like, for example, I know like the behind the scenes and the post production process, and I
Uh-huh.
can tell you this, that the pre-production, the production, and the post production of a project like this takes a very long time, a lot of resources, a lot of people working on it. There's a lot of work that goes into it. Every second of the film, literally every second of the film is a lot of work.
One of the
It's mm?
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's really like people don't realize just how many days, like hours, days, weeks, even months go into it, and it's it's really challenging to get it done, especially on this level. I'm looking at the team of the Bat in the Sun. Like they literally work all the time. Like barely have any time for anything else because like everything that you see, like people often ask, why is it taking so long? I'm like, really?
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
I feel like they produce that stuff like really fast, like really really fast, considering that like they don't have like millions of dollars to make it happen and like as many people as the big production companies, and yet you watch something that is like very close in quality to like some of the best productions that we know today, and it's pretty mind-blowing to me how do they make it happen. So like it's a lot of work.
I understand putting together a long production. I mean, I've got my next project is currently trying to find locations to shoot. We are doing Frankenstein. The story of Frankenstein is a web series, and it's going to be a silent film web series in black and white.
That is amazing.
I hope so.
That's talk about the classics.
Yeah, we're going to wait until it's all filmed and completed before we start releasing the episodes online. They will release 1 week after, once every 2 weeks, and it'll be 6 parts.
That is amazing. I actually played a wife of Frankenstein recently in another project by Don Glutt, Tales of Frankenstein. That is currently 3 of the 4 novels have been filmed so far, and there's one more part to film, and it's in pre-production right now. And I got to play a wife of the Dr. Frankenstein, played by the famous Len Wein, like our beloved Len Wein, the creator of Wolverine, Storm, Colossus. You know that name, correct?
No.
Len Wein, the writer
Oh,
for
yeah. Yeah, I know who you're talking about now.
DC and Marvel, creator of the Swamp Thing,
Yep.
creator of the X-Men.
Did it
He actually played Professor Frankenstein in this film to play his wife. It was an amazing experience.
You did. How long did it take you to get into the blue Mystique makeup for the Geek Fantasy magazine cover?
Makeup like this can take hours and hours and hours. It kind of depends on the makeup artist and on how prepared you are. I am no stranger to special effects makeup. I've been applied prosthetics on a bunch of times, so like I don't mind a few hours in the makeup chair.
That looks like a
But
lot more than a few hours.
actually, no. I mean, it's like blue spray. Like, I mean, you can get this stuff done in 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours of work.
Your whole
I would
body
say.
is covered in blue makeup, right?
Yeah, and you like body coverage as well as prosthetics.
Is it is it very similar to what they put on like Rebecca Romaine or Jennifer Lawrence?
I mean, I don't know exactly what they did to Rebecca Romaine and Jennifer Lawrence, but I would assume that, yeah, probably. I mean,
It looks like I saw a piece like I met somebody at a convention and she was in head to toe blue Mystique makeup. I was shocked that I mean
okay, that is a brave woman.
yeah, she
I
well
would
yeah,
not
I mean
wear
you were
something like
basically
that to a
naked.
convention.
You were basically walking around completely naked with blue body paint on.
Oh my
And
goodness. Yeah, I
and she said
prefer
that what it
to
is,
avoid.
it's a piece that it's like this. She was trying to compare to what she was wearing to something, and she was like, "Oh, okay, here's what it's like." She's like, "It's latex that I'm wearing," and she had me like feel her shoulders, and there was like this squishy part of her shoulder that didn't feel like skin. And she said, "So what it is like it's I slip it on over my sleeves, like it's almost like a shirt." That then like the inside is very sticky, so then I peel it over my breasts, and then I have like stitched in like the bottom part of it is like a very flesh tone kind of panties like stitched into the latex that she can slip on over her, you know, like you wear a bikini bottom, and that will cover up downstairs. And she's like, it's very, very delicate until they start like spraying it on, and then it kind of stiffens up, and I can move, you know, very freely in it, and it doesn't like crack or anything like that. But she says it's like this really dainty kind of latex little slip-on that she's putting on that they start then covering up in the blue and everything else, and that's
Interesting.
the
Yeah,
scales.
that makes sense because like walking around the convention, you know, like I don't know, like I would probably not feel comfortable, you know,
Uh-huh.
just walking around like knowing that I'm wearing nothing but a pair of pasties.
Oh yeah, I mean that was the one thing I was kind of surprised about is that there was nobody with this girl for a little while. She had some friend with her. She had gone off to do something and come back when I was talking to her. But when I was watching her walk through the cons, because let's face it, you see a blue naked woman walking around, you're gonna turn and notice. She had nobody with her. I'm just like, how is this woman? Wow, she is brave, and she was,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
you know there are some terrible people at conventions sometimes. There is a lot of good people, but there are a lot of terrible people who just don't go to conventions and don't understand, you know, like boundaries and things like that. But she had not been, other than like a couple lewd comments. Nobody had tried anything. But you know, she was with somebody. She was with another girl who was like a foot taller than her. But again, very, very brave in a costume that you are essentially naked.
Absolutely. I usually try to avoid wearing very revealing outfits to
Mm-hmm.
the conventions. Very rarely do I wear even shorts, you know, like I
Laura
wore a
Croft
Harley
or something.
Quinn outfit to one of the conventions and with like a pair of like shorts, but that's basically as far as I was willing to go, but usually I will be covered from head to toe because I don't necessarily like being in a public place where you can see children, you know, like I don't like, you know, like showing too much skin. However, at the same time, I do believe that you can be sexy. Like sexuality doesn't come from wearing less. Sexuality, like the sex appeal, it comes from I don't know, energy, the person's energy, the overall attitude,
Uh
character,
huh.
you know.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. I feel like confidence and, you know, kindness, those are intelligence, those are like all very appealing things to me. Like I find those things sexy about a woman.
But you're not opposed to like doing like photo shoots like you did one with as like a Harley Quinn with a woman who's supposed to be Katana and you guys are both in your bikinis.
Oh yeah, I photo shoots I am absolutely not opposed to because it seems like fairly safe to me because it's an image, that I create and put out there. And it's almost like it's different when you see a living, breathing person standing next to you in an outfit like this. When it's just an image, like somewhere like on the screen, it doesn't have the same effect, but as soon as this person is standing next to you, so I've had some situations when I was wearing my Black Canary outfit to San Diego Comic-Con. Oh my gosh, most people were very respectful, but there was this one comment, and that's all it took for me. One comment from one person, and I was like, okay, I'm changing my outfit.
You should have kept the Red Sonja outfit on and just killed them with your giant broadsword, just stab. And
Oh my
slice.
goodness. Yeah, let's hope it never comes down to that. But yeah, that's another outfit that you will not see me wear in public, because it's 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 something that I've done photo shoots in, and I have worked on a little passion project as Red Sonja, and that's all I'm gonna tell you right now. But something really awesome is on the way.
This isn't the Red Sonja thing with Gail Simone, is it? Okay,
No,
because there's a Red Sonja project either coming out, or it's out, or it's in development. Something to do with
are we
Gail
are we
Simone's Red
talking about the
Sonja.
movie? Are we talking about the movie?
No, I didn't know they were trying to make another Red Sonja movie.
Well, I think this one unfortunately fell through.
Well, that's
Which
not
is a
surprising
bummer to me,
considering
'cause it's one of
the
my favorite
Conan
characters.
movie was kind of it kind of fell apart.
I'm
The
sorry, kind of what?
the Conan movie that came out a few years ago with Robert Rodriguez,
Yeah.
that kind of that came out in theaters, but it did terribly.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if we just weren't ready for Conan yet. I think Game of Thrones had just started, so the fantasy world was still very kid friendly for yeah, what was the Wizard series? The Harry Potter had just, basically Harry Potter, the movies were still very popular, but fantasy was still very kid friendly until Game of Thrones came along, and then next thing you know, Game of Thrones and Merlin and what was the other very adult, Spartacus, all these sword and sorcery, very adult, with cussing and swearing and nudity and rape and insane amount of violence, made fantasy
very graphic.
yeah, very graphic, very mature content, just made fantasy this very lucrative and money-making adult substance. Now, if a Conan movie like that came out today, or a Conan TV series, I think it would do very well, because look at Westworld. Westworld's a fantasy show. It's so immensely popular, and we are all dying for the next season of Game of Thrones.
Absolutely. I think there's only 2 seasons left.
Yeah, something like that.
I hope I didn't break any hearts by saying that.
No,
but
I think that's pretty well known in the community. You should get on Game of Thrones.
that would be ideal, but considering how little is left of it,
But
I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
you have an exotic look to you, and you can speak with an exotic tongue. That's very ideal for Game of Thrones.
Absolutely.
Get that
absolutely.
agent to call them up.
Yeah, absolutely. One problem, I would have to be in London.
Oh yeah, no. Well, hey.
Exotic ladies in London, get on it.
I mean, what's LA to London? It's just across the ocean through Asia, or you go through the United States across the ocean. I mean, come on. It's just right next door. It's like a walk.
Just a little red eye flight.
I mean, you're from Russia. You can walk through Russia, then get into a cab, drive up to the edge of Europe, then take a boat to London. There you go. Then you're there.
Yeah, and if I write everything down in my journal as I embark on this journey, I will. By the time I get there, I will write a script of my own.
Exactly. You'll have your own story. So you'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Or how about because you're such a big geek and nerd, have you ever thought about auditioning for any of the upcoming Star Wars or Marvel films?
Actually, it hasn't crossed my mind yet to audition for any of the Star Wars films. That is an interesting idea.
Yeah, I mean they're casting for Han Solo right now. Episode 8 is already filming, so that's too late. But they'll start casting. But here's the other thing: they announced a year ago that Episode 9 will cast here in Boston, Massachusetts, for
Ooh.
stormtroopers and other characters, because they're going to be using parts of Boston, parts of Massachusetts to film Episode 9.
I gotta say, I love me some Star Wars. I so far have cosplayed Rey and Slave Leia.
I saw the Slave Leia; that was amazing.
It's a way to break the ice.
I was 19 years old in 1999. I was standing outside of Toys R Us waiting for Star Wars toys to come out, and one of the few people who came in costume was a girl in a Slave Girl Leia outfit, and this was like late April when it was still very cold around 12 o'clock at night.
See, now that is a dedication.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about Star Wars, I want to do a little shout out to a friend of mine, Brian Morton, who is a fellow Batman actor. He was actually in the most beatdowns than anyone else in the production. He is Anakin from Darth Vader versus Gandalf. He played Batman in Batman versus Deadpool. He was the first Wolverine in Wolverine versus Batman.
Oh, cool.
Like, this guy morphs into any character. And the reason why I'm doing a shout out for him is he's a huge fan of Star Wars since childhood. And his dream come true was to design the poster for Star Wars for the Force Awakens last year. That poster that you've seen all over the place, everywhere in the world, that was him. Yeah, Brian, you are super talented.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's quite an amazing guy.
Okay, so one of the last things we have to ask you before we let you go tonight is, I noticed that you write poetry, and I have been writing poetry off and on since, for a number of years. I've gone to a number of coffee houses and read my, it's not great poetry. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, but I've been writing poetry off and on for a number of years, and you have several poems on your website. I would love it if you could read one to us.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing. You have to read it in English and then read it in Russian.
Ooh, actually, I have one that I wrote in Russian and in English. That's how I started writing in English.
Okay, so read it in English. Read it in English first, and then Russian.
Okay. The poem is called Elements, and I originally wrote it in Russian, and people kept asking me, like, could you maybe translate it? And I was like, it's a poem, it's poetry. I don't know how to translate it. And then I was like, I'm just going to write it all over again in English. So this is what I came up with. It's a pretty close match. I would say it's matching probably about 90% with a little bit of, mismatch that had to happen in order to make it rhyme. It's called Elements. When I'm fire, I'm passion. I burn. So be careful when getting too close. You are risking to never return from the dream that you willingly chose. When I'm earth, I am life itself, taking care of your slightest needs, reuniting what's broken in half. I shall heal every wound that bleeds. When you try to attack me, I'm air. All your efforts to hurt me will fail. I decide for myself what's fair, and my justice will always prevail. When I'm water, I'm love. Behold, once you fall in the depths of my heart, and your soul starts to sing, truth be told, you will never desire to part. There are several forces of life, all uniting within me as one. I'm your friend, I'm your lover and wife. I'm your moonlight, and I am your sun. And that is the English version. And the Russian version sounds like this. Элементы. Когда я огонь, я страсть. Во мне ты сгоришь дотла. Приблизившись, можешь пропасть. Останется лишь зола. Когда я земля, я жизнь. Дарю тебе пищу и кров. Заботой тебя окружив, укрою тебя от ветров. Когда я вода и любовь, познай же мою влюбину. Ныряя в меня вновь и вновь, не бойся во мне утонуть. Я воздух, когда опять меня атакуешь ты, но воздух тебе не поймать. Я форму приму пустоты. Стихии во мне сплелись. Все вместе, и ад, и рай. Лишь в выборе определись, и силу стихий познай. That's it.
Awesome. Maybe I'll find a clap track to put into the end of that.
Woohoo!
Awesome. Well, we really do appreciate you coming on the show with us. Why don't you give out your website names and your any project that you want to plug for people to check out?
My website is my name, TatianaDeKhtyar.com, TatianaDeKhtyar. And I just just go to my website, and whatever the projects that I worked on that you want to check out, you will find there. There's links to my social media in the corner. And like one last thing that I just wanted to say, I wanted to do a shout out to my good friends and colleagues back at Batnasan, Truly Indie Studios, and all of the projects that I worked on. Thank you, everyone that was with me on my journey. I love you all dearly. I respect you and admire you. And I am very grateful that I got to create with such amazing, remarkable people.
Earlier, I believe you mentioned something about a Wonder Woman versus Wolverine you let slip.
Yes, indeed. The new episode of Batman Superpower Beatdown is about to be released a couple days from now, and it's a battle between Wonder Woman and Wolverine, and it's going to be really interesting. It's pretty controversial. It was directed by Aaron Shunka, and it's really beautifully done. I've seen some of it when I was doing the voiceover, and I have to say that it looks beautiful. Like the team of Bat and the Sun, like Aaron is so talented. Like the amount of work that was invested into this project is just unbelievable, and it paid off. I have to say, it looks really amazing. I'm really looking forward to it. So if you are not following Bat in the Sun yet, I would say find them on Facebook, find them on YouTube, find them on Instagram, and definitely tune in a couple of days from now. This new episode is going to drop. Happy holidays to all of my friends. I love you guys, and I wish you all happiness.
Cool. Awesome. Again, thank you so much for coming on the show with us.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.